Right, good morning everyone. Hope you all had a brilliant weekend. It is Monday, so it is our English lesson. We will be starting at 10 o'clock. It is just 1:52. So in 5 minutes time we're going to get started. You'll need a pen, you'll need some paper. And we'll give 5 minutes everyone to get down the lesson before we get started. Like I said, hope you're all okay. Let's see who we have down at the minute. I saw early on Isabel, both Isabels. Good morning. Let's just turn off the sound on my iPad. Done. Let's have a look there. Vinny's there. Good morning, Vinny. Good morning, Drew. Let's have a look. Good morning, Tom. What have we got? I think I saw. Good morning, Sydney. Good morning, Ollie. Good morning, William. Morning, Jonathan. Good morning, Francis. Okay, I know some of you, good morning, Charlie, have different usernames, so if I'm saying the wrong name, I apologise. Good morning, Emily. Good morning, Heidi. Morning, Jude. Morning, Nicola. Good morning, Christian. Good morning, Jasmine, Ruby. Lots of you down there this morning. Like I said, we're going to start at 10 o'clock. So that's about 4 minutes now. Really good out to see you nice and early. Morning, Kate Wilkinson. I'm sure that's a different, someone else using a different account there. Let me know, I'll say good morning. Morning, Seb. Morning, Di. Good morning, Iris. Start at 10 o'clock. Got something that's been in my pocket through the wash. Put that in the bin. Morning, Emily. Great to see you all down. Get some pen, get some paper. About 3 minutes or so, we're going to get started, okay? Milo, can you stop it with the caps? Do me head in. Oh. Oh, sorry there. I thought I was going to be late. I let some light in downstairs for my little dwarf rabbit and he escaped, so I was chasing him because he'd be at the door, Buster, be at the door scratching if if he was out. So sorry, I thought I was going to be late, but I'm on time. So it is 10 o'clock and we're going to get the lesson started, okay? A couple of things I'm going to go over first, with it being the first day of the week. Some news for you and everything. So last week we had our Reading Plus challenge for the children who go to my school, where you could just decide, whoever won could decide a TikTok dance for me to do. Well done to Sophie and Leah again. You both won, and Sophie picked Renegade, Leah picked Savage. I've downloaded TikTok. All your fault. I'm now addicted. It's all I looked at all weekend. I'm going to put those up as soon as I can do them, okay? I've been practicing. I've got some of the first bit down, whatever, okay? But as soon as I can do it, I will get that TikTok up, okay? And then I'll do the next one, okay? I'll do Sophie's first because she had the most words. Then, and I also, I'm not addicted to TikTok. I actually made a normal TikTok on my own back this morning, my first TikTok. So you really have got addicted. It's all your fault. You got me addicted. Anyway, so I'll get those up when I can. If you want to follow my TikTok account, you can find the link on my socials, like Instagram, my Facebook, everything like that. You can get on. What I'm going to do going forward is I'm not going to say this week we'll put another dance. I'm going to have loads of dances I need to do, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to learn them. So my Year 5 and Year 6 students, keep on Reading Plus, keep on Mathletics, and what I'll do from now, this is the first week, next time I'm ready to do another dance, I'll have a look, see who's got most on Mathletics or Reading Plus. Not sure which one, so keep up on both of them. And I'll take all the time it takes, so it might take me a week and a bit or something to do the two dances. I'm not sure. Could be quicker, could be an absolute natural. But whatever it takes, we'll do them. Second thing I want to mention as well is this Friday, the stay-at-home school disco is changing. We're changing it to a stay-at-home street party. I put loads of stuff up on the social, and it's been on the school Twitter and everything like that, but this is for everyone, okay? Friday's a bank holiday. It is VE Day. We are wanting you to all have a street party separately but together, if you know what I mean, okay? So I'm going to change my time from 3 till 4. We're going to be having a street party. I'm going to be streaming some music. I'm hopefully going to be doing it outside. I'm going to make sure the neighbours are okay with it. We want pictures, we want videos, all of those things in. I need you to select the music, so you need to let me know some requests. Not in the chat, okay, because I'm not going to see them there. But if you request the songs, I'm going to play all the music that you want to play. Also for the day, Mrs. Carthy has made a brilliant pack of stuff to do to make bunting, pictures, activities to keep you entertained on that day, okay? So if you check on the Padlet, which is in the description below when you get your worksheets, on the ends of the day section, you've got a brilliant activity pack made by Mrs. Carthy there, so well done. Thank you, Mrs. Carthy, for that. Right, so today is Monday. Let's get on with the lesson. It is SPaG, so we're going to look at some spelling and a little bit of punctuation and grammar. And after the lesson, there's going to be some worksheets to do. The link for those are down in the description. That's free to access for everyone. Afterwards, if you are stuck, you can get in contact with me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, Mr. Biggins123. You can get in contact on the Padlet. There's an email address on the Padlet, and you can put something in the comments. I do say, if you are struggling, okay, don't pop it in the chat, because it might go past and we don't see it, because lots of people comment. In the chat is for asking questions, catching up, things like that. Put it in the comments on the video. Those are the ones I'm most likely to catch. So don't put it in the chat. If you want to put it on YouTube, put it on the comment section or use one of these for me. I'll stay around a little bit after the lesson, so if there is something you haven't understood, I can help you out with that as well. Obviously, all the lessons stay up after the lesson, so if you're doing the worksheet and you need a recap of something, you can come back and watch the video again and just watch the parts that you need, because we're doing a couple of things today and it will help you. And obviously, if you're watching on the replay because you couldn't get along the live lesson, hello, obviously you can't use the chat, but obviously you can still get in contact with me. Anything you don't understand, just leave it, park it, okay, as we go on the video, so you don't miss out. Obviously you can't put your hand up and ask me, I can't stop the lesson, but you obviously can go back and watch it again to see if you can understand it. and then if you can't, you can get in contact with me afterwards. So don't make it stop you understanding or listening to what's coming next, okay? Because you're worrying too much about that, okay? Just leave it and move on. And last little thing before we do start is last week we had a Kahoot quiz for the work that we did, and I think it was nearly 50 people did that, so well done. And I was going to say the top 3, but there were actually 4 people who got 100%, got every single question right on there, okay? So that was, say, big well done to Jenna G, Alfie R, Hadassah O, and Jack S. Well done, guys. You all got 100%. And then after that, there was about 7 or 8 people got only 1 question wrong. I think it was out of 20 or so. So really good. It showed me that you really understand, and it showed us that the competition is really big enough out there. So there is a Kahoot after this lesson, but let's get into the work so we know what we're doing. So firstly, on the board, we have our word of the week. I wrote day, okay, as if I'm back in school. It's word of the week. So if you've been watching the other lessons, you should have a couple of other words down. Today, we are going to learn this word. So whatever you've done, pop it down. Remember, to learn words and to really say them, you need to say them, you need to use them, okay? If you're not using a word, you'll just forget about it, okay? So try and use this as you're talking, in your writing, anything you do 3 or 4 times this week, and it'll go into your vocabulary, which means you can use it and you can understand it when you see it, okay? So the word is devour, okay? Now, devour, the definition is to eat hungrily or quickly. So if you devour something, you're eating it really quickly or really fast, okay? Mr. B devoured the Greg's pasty when they opened again, because that is probably going to happen, okay? So that's what it means. A synonym, so a word that means the same, is consume. Now remember, when we say synonyms, synonyms are words that are similar but don't mean the exact same thing, okay? So consume, I would say, means to eat, to take something in, but I wouldn't link it with eating quickly or hungrily, okay? You could say he consumed that quickly, but just consume on its own means to take in, to eat, okay? So again, although we're only learning 1 word, this is our word of the week. Again, another really good word, and another really, really good word here, an antonym. I really like this word, savour, okay? So antonym means a word that means the opposite. So if you devour something, you eat something quickly. If you savour it, okay, then you're taking your time with it because you're enjoying it, okay? So Mr. B savoured the sausage and bean. Can you tell I'm missing Greg's, okay? Savoured that. That means he eats it slowly because he's loving every taste of it. But you can also use these words in other ways. So we're talking about food, but again, if you talking about when we want to be cleverer writers, like what we were learning on last Friday and we'll be learning this week as well. You could say something like, she devoured the books, okay? No, she's not eating the books, it means she's reading them all quickly because she's excited, okay? Or he savoured the feeling, so that feeling is brilliant and it's amazing, and he's basking in it, and he wanting to keep on to that feeling before it goes away, okay? So although they do normally talk about food, you can use them in other ways when you're trying to be a little bit cleverer. Okay, so that is our word of the week. You might want to jot that down. So, okay, just going to check. I think Mrs. Cathy was sending us a message there. No, she isn't. So we're going to start with a quick little starter. 2 actually quick little starters that I am sure you will be able to do like that, okay? Because I've seen you every day, in the chat how quickly you get these things. Now, firstly, I don't want you to write the answers in the chat until I start saying them, okay? So, I'm going to write some words on the board. We've got hat, zebra. Ooh, keep them all the same because we're not in a sentence. Apple. House. Now, the reason I'm writing these words, like I said, this is just a quick little starter. Get our brains woken up from the weekend. What I want you to do is, in your head, think of these words. And if I was putting a or an in front of them, which one would you use? Because you only use one. They're what they call an and a determiners, and they're a specific one. They're called a article, okay? Determiners is the main thing we need, okay? But here we have some words: hat, zebra, apple, house, elephant, umbrella, unicorn, ball, or exit. In your head, have a look at them. Okay, have a think. What would you say? Would you say a hat or an hat? A zebra or an zebra? A apple or an apple? Okay, work your way down and have a think what you would use with each of them. And then what we're going to do in the chat, okay, I will ask a couple of them and see if you know. So don't be putting a or an or anything like that in the chat now, because I'm not going to know which one you are talking about. So, okay, hat. Can you quickly in the chat now put a if you think it's a? Can you put an if you think it is an hat? A hat or an hat, okay? A lot of the time, if you say them out loud, with us being what we call native English speakers, which means English is our first language, you can tell which one's which because of how it sounds, okay? So put in a or an, okay? So going so fast there, I can't see them all. You're all right. Yes, it is a hat, okay? Let's move on to apple then. Is it a apple or an apple? Okay, a apple or an apple. I have a apple or an apple. Okay, pop those down for me now. An apple. An apple. Well done, Isabel. Well done, Jake. Well done, Lucy, Ruby. Oh, Lords. Hello, Mrs. Rice. I see you in the chat there. Mrs. Carthy, I thought I said hello earlier on. Hello. Well done, Heidi. Vinny, oh, they're going so fast there. Now it is Anne. Okay, let's go to unicorn then. Unicorn. Is it a unicorn or an unicorn? A unicorn and an unicorn. Now I can see some people trying to guess something in the chat. Okay, and this one will stump you if that's the case. Oh, so we've got this one, the first one, we've got a couple, okay? We have a and we have an. A and an, mainly a, okay? Now, this is what helps us being English speakers, okay? Because we're English speakers, you know it's a unicorn. A lot of you wouldn't say, oh, there is an unicorn, okay? It doesn't sound right when it comes out of the mouth, but you might not know the rule. Can you please, for me, I'm going to go down these. As I'm going down, can you tell me what the rule is in the chat? Obviously, if you're watching back and the chat isn't there, just say the rule in your head or say your rule to someone there. So, a hat. It is a. We've got that one, okay? So we have a hat. Zebra. Is it a or an? It is a zebra. Apple. Ooh. Same colour, sorry. Apple, is it a apple or an apple? It's an apple. Is it a house or an house? We would have a house. Is it a elephant or an elephant? It's an elephant. Is it a umbrella or an umbrella? It is an umbrella. Ooh, oh, wrong colour. I have an umbrella. A unicorn, we just said there. Ball, I have a ball. There is an exit, okay? So that is the ones that we have got there. Now let's have a look in the chat to see, has anyone guessed the rule? How do we know when to use a and when to use an? Okay? So pop it in the chat. So I've got Joshua saying A-E-I-O-U. What do you mean by that, Joshua? You've just wrote A-E-I-O-U. Can you explain that more for me? A-E-I-O-U again there, Joshua. I know, sorry, it's a bit of a delay, so I'm asking these questions. It takes you a while to put them down. So let's have a look there. Callum saying if it's A-E-I-O-U, it is an. Okay? And before a word with a vowel. So A-E-I-O-U, yes. A-E-I-O-U are the vowels, the words that appear mostly in our English language. Okay, they're used in lots and lots of words. Now, a lot of you are saying we use a for non-vowels and an if it's a vowel. Okay? However, let's have a look at these two. These two both start with the same letter, okay, and I'm going to explain why. You are half right. No one's mentioned it yet. I was giving you time. Because we've got all these right, okay? It's not an unicorn, there is an unicorn. You know it doesn't sound right, okay? No one has got it yet, so let's go and go in, okay? The vowels, you are on the right path. It is something to do with the vowels, okay? We use a if it is a consonant, which is the word that is not a vowel, okay? So it's consonant, so if it's not a vowel sound, we use a hat, zebra, a house, a ball, okay? If it is a vowel, we use an apple, an elephant, an umbrella, an exit, okay? However, it is not if it starts with a vowel, it is if it starts with a vowel sound, okay? So these also apple, elephant, okay? Umbrella. Unicorn starts with a Y sound, doesn't it? Unicorn. You don't say unicorn. So it has an a in front. So it is a vowel sound, not a vowel. Let's have a think of something a lot of you have probably been playing on. I'm playing on an Xbox. You don't say I'm playing on a Xbox, okay? Because that X has that sound, doesn't it? Xbox, which is a E sound at the start. So it's an at the start. So that doesn't start with a vowel, but it does have an because it starts with a vowel sound, okay? That's first little recap, okay? Now, next little starter, make sure your brain's awake. So what I want you to do is basically tell me which one uses was and which one uses were. Okay, which of these sentences uses was and which of these sentences uses were. Okay, the first one use was or were, or does the second one, if the second one use was or were, which one uses which? Okay, let's have a look. Okay, you just put was in. I don't understand what you mean. Do you mean was for the first one, was for both, was for the second one? Explain the answers in the chat for me, please. Let's have a look. Well done, Lucy. He was fast, they were loud. And number one, well done, Tom. Was then were. Okay, was then were. First one was, second one was were, second is were, okay? And it is. Now, can you tell me why? Why do we have was for the first one? And why do we have were for the second one? Why is it he was fast? And why is it they were loud? Can you tell me? Why is it he was fast? And why is it they were loud? What is the difference between those two sentences? So was and were are past tense words, aren't they? They're talking about things that have happened. Okay, he was fast. He was fast when he was doing something, or he used to be fast. Okay, they were loud. So either they stopped being loud, or we're talking about a time before they were loud at the football stadium, and they were loud until the teacher walked in. Does anyone know? Yes, he were fast doesn't make sense. Okay. Fortunately, I have heard people say it, okay? He were, okay? Why is it? Not just because it's past tense, because these are both past tense words, okay? Good idea. They're both past tense, was and were. They were loud. Isn't happening now or in the future, is it? It's happening in the past. So they're both past tense. What is the difference? Amelie, well done, Amelie. You've said this is for one person and this is for more than one. What do we call that? Can anyone remember the English name that we use for that? So this, whenever it's only one person or one thing, it's was. When it's more than one, we use were. Okay, what do we call that? Does anyone know? I see you. Well done, Stephen. Brilliant, Stephen. Said there, singular and plural. So singular, something on its own. Plural, okay, more than one thing together. So remember that, because it is one that's a lot of the time you get right, but every now and again, okay, it can trip us up. okay, on certain words and certain sentences. Remember, one person was, multiple were, singular, plural. Okay, well done for that. Right, that's our brains awake. So the first thing that we're going to do today is we are going to do our spelling practice, a little spelling rule to get our brains going. I'll be making notes as I do this to help you with the spelling sheet that you have afterwards. And also the mini little test we're going to have in the middle. Don't worry too much about it. It's only going to be a small one. Okay, so there are lots of adjectives that end with the word shus. Remember, an adjective is a word that describes a noun. Not just a describing word, it describes a noun, okay, because we have adverbs as well. So an adjective, so words that describe noun, a lot of them end in a shus sound, okay? Shus. Now, let's have a look at examples. Nutritious, delicious, spacious. They all have that shus sound at the end. Now, before we go into how we make that sound, we do it by adding a suffix to a word. Can you tell me what a suffix is? What is a suffix? Okay, so we have a prefix. So a prefix is something that we put on the start of a word to change it, okay? So if I had complete, I could put im on the front. So to have incomplete. Incomplete, wake up Mr. Biggins, you should have been doing the task. Incomplete, okay? So I add that little prefix at the start to change the word, okay? Change happy, put un at the start to make it unhappy. That's my prefix. So what is a suffix? Have you been able to tell me? Well done, Heidi. Sorry there, I'm just timing out a few people who've been a bit silly because I can't see the answers. Well done, Seb. Just one little thing as well, just to mention, remember, be careful when you are online, please, including my chat. Don't give away your full name or anything like that. That includes other people's, okay? Right, okay, so let's have a quick look. So we had a few good answers there. Heidi, Sunset Gamers, I think is Charlie, not sure. Okay, well done. A suffix is something that goes at the end of the word. So prefix, pre normally means before, suffix goes afterwards. Okay, so we have suffixes like ing, so run becomes running, okay? Or we have ed, so walk becomes walked. So suffix is something go at the end. So we put something at the end of a noun to make it into an adjective to make that shus sound. Okay, that shus sound. Who can tell me, or who knows, what is the suffix? Does anybody know? I'll be really impressed if anyone does. There are two suffixes that we use to make that shus sound, and that's why we're looking at them today, because we need to know when to use which one. Can you tell me which shus, what are the two ways that we have, the suffixes, that make the shus sound that we add to the end of the word? There are two. Okay, can you tell me what those two are? Well done, Emily, you've got them both there. Well done, Sunset Gamers again. Well done, Jasmine with one. Well done, Evie. Lots coming through now. Millie, Emily, Ruby, Isabel. It's taken a bit while for the questions to come through. Sorry, I was going quite quick before. It looks like the stream might be going a little bit later, so I'm going to, when I ask a question, wait a little bit longer to see your answers there, okay? Because there are loads coming through now. Lee, you've got one shus, but the second time I think it's been auto-corrected because it says Titus, okay? It's not Titus, that's a name, okay? Give me a laugh, also worth it. Well done, Jennifer. Well done, Amelia. Yeah, so we have CIOUS for shus, and we have TIOUS for shus, okay? So those two give us that shus sound at the end. Now we add it to a noun in order to turn it into an adjective mainly, okay? So let's have a look at two examples. Let's start with shus, okay? So if we have the noun space, okay, if we want to turn it into an adjective, we can add shus, and it becomes spacious. Now what I want you to do, have a look at these two words I'm putting on. Can you tell me what the rule is? Because I don't just put the suffix on the end. Okay, I can't just put the suffix on. I have to do something. What do you notice about these two words? Okay, firstly, what do you notice about space and grace? Okay, what is common? What is the same about them? So we can turn space into spacious, and we can turn grace into gracious. Okay, so what are the two things that you can notice about those two? What's common between the two of them? Well done. Some people saying what we have to do, okay, to drop, so saying what letters we have to take out in order to put it. But what do you notice about these two words firstly? What do they have in common? What have they got in common? Let's have a look. Yes, we do have to, you're all right with getting rid of those letters, but what is common about those words? Okay, lots of people saying drop the E. I'm going to move on with the letter, okay, the lesson. Anyone spots this, teachers, Miss Carthy or Miss Allison, can you pop it in the chat for me so I can see, so I'll move on. So both of these words end in CE, that was what we were looking for. Both words end in CE, and that is our rule. If a word, a noun, ends in CE and we add an shus onto the end of it, okay, we add the CIOUS, okay? So if it has C on the end of it, we use this one, because remember we have two ways of making the sound. And people were saying that we take the E off. We actually take the CE off. If you have a look there, if I just take the E off and add my COUS, I would have two C's in there, wouldn't I? So I'm actually taking the CE off, okay? So I take the CE off and I add CIOUS. So if a word ends in CE, we add CIOUS and we drop the CE in order to do it. Unfortunately, like we say every time we do a spelling rule, there are exceptions that we just have to learn, and the best way to learn is just keep reading, just keep having a look at these words and seeing them in text, okay? Don't practice them over and over and over and over and over again, okay? Unless it's a really tricky one that you want to learn. The best way is just to read, and when the words crop up, the more times you see them, it'll get stuck in your brain without you even knowing. But I'm going to put a couple of examples up there of exceptions, okay, to show you some common words that are exceptions to this rule. So we have exceptions. So we have precious. Now you might want to pop these down, okay, it will help you later on. We have precious. That comes from the word price, which does have CE, okay, but you can see the word changes, okay, so price becomes precious, okay, that's its root word, okay, so these are all the root words that the words are coming from. We have the word, what was the next one, that ferocious, like Carol Baskin's Tigers, that comes from the word fierce, okay. Again, NCE, so it's sort of following our rule, but fierce and ferocious, you can see we've changed some of the letters around, they're slightly different. Then we have a word that is completely different from its root. So the word delicious comes from the root word delight, which doesn't have a CE, but a lot of you will see delicious a lot when you're reading, so it's a word that you will already know. And there are a lot more, but I'm not going to go through them all. Okay, I just went through a couple of them that are common and come up quite a lot. Now we're going to move on to our shus sound with the TIOUS suffix, okay? And when we use this suffix to turn nouns into adjectives, Again, what do you notice is similar about the root word? So this is the root word I'm going to use. I'm going to use nutrition. And I'm going to use the root word ambition. What do you notice about those two words? Okay, what do you notice about those two words? Pop it in the chat. Now, when we add shus, it becomes nutritious. And when we add our shus here, ambition becomes ambitious. Okay, so nutrition becomes nutritious and ambition becomes ambitious. What do you notice about the two root words? Okay, so with this one, we said they both end CE, so we know for word end CE, we add CIOUS. With this one, what do we notice about these two words? Yes, some people put it in there. Lucy, Ellie, well done Alfie, well done Ruby. Let's have a look there. Well done Ruby, well done Amelia. Okay, so the words all end in, was it ending again we were looking for? Shon. Okay, so when a word ends shon, T-I-O-N, sorry, then we add the shus that begins with a T. Remember, these are making the same sound. Okay, they're making the same sound, but we use different ones for different words. So nutrition becomes nutritious, ambition becomes ambitious. We know we're using TIOUS because they end in shon. And like a broken record, you know that I'm going to say there are some exceptions. So let's have a look at some of the common exceptions. Okay, and see which ones we've got. So we've got fiction. Okay, remember when you've got story, something that isn't real is a fiction story, it's made up. Okay, so it ends shon, but it becomes fictitious. Okay, fiction becomes fictitious. Okay, this is a hard one. Let's go. Now this one is a hard one because it's actually, so conscious, which ends CE, becomes conscientious. Okay, the conscientious means you are thinking about your actions and what you're doing. So your conscience is that thing that tells you the right thing to do. Conscientious means you're listening to that and you're making sure you're trying to do the right thing. But again, look at NCE, but we add the TIOUS, so it's an exception. So this word you might not come on as much, but I put it on because we really need to be careful, because that would tell us to add the CIOUS suffix, wouldn't it? And last one, now sumptuous. Lovely, I love that word, sumptuous. Something that's really good, really nice, sumptuous. Okay. Now the word, you might not recognise that word as much, but you will recognise this one. Becomes scrumptious. Okay, that food is scrumptious, really, really nice. Okay, again, we haven't got the TIO word and on the end, and the word changes. So that is its root word. So that is what is hard about it. So this is the root. When we're adding shus to the end of a word, in order to make an adjective from a noun, if the word ends CE, the noun, we add CIOUS for that shus sound. If it ends TION, we add TIOUS for that shus sound. There are exceptions, and there are more than this. All we can do is learn those ones. So like last week, we're going to do a little test now. So if you have been writing down any of the words, brilliant, well done, but try and cover them up now. Now, remember the rule, because the words that I'm going to ask you will not be exceptions, okay? So all the words that I'm going to ask you will be either ending CE, you need the root word, sorry, will end in CE, or the root word will end in TION, not an exception, because today we're learning the rule, not the spelling. So, what I'm going to do is I'll have to rub some of these off because they might be on. I'll leave those on for you though. So think of the rule. You've got to try and work out what the root is. So if I said a word, right, what is the root word? What does it come from? Okay, you'll see on my first one. So let's go. Your first one, have a go at this spelling, is, should be doing it, we've just had on the board, spacious. The room was very spacious. Spacious. So think of the word it comes from. Is it CE or is it TION? If it's CE, add this. If it's TION, add that. Spacious. Next word. Nutritious. The meal was very nutritious. Nutritious. You don't have to put the answer in the chat, write it down on a piece of paper, okay? You're just checking for it yourself. If you're trying to do it yourself and I see people on saying don't put the answer in the chat, just stop watching the chat just for this little bit. So that's spacious and nutritious, happens every week. Malicious, one we haven't looked at, so this should be one of our harder ones. Malicious. The boy was very malicious. Malicious. That was number 3, Isabel, yes. So we had spacious, nutritious, malicious. Okay, those are your first 3. Question number 4. Infectious. The illness was very infectious. Infectious. Should have thought about these words before I put them in, shouldn't I? No. So think of the root word. Where does the word infectious, the adjective, where does it come from? What noun? Okay, infectious. Next word, gracious. Right, think of what the root word is. What's the root noun? The girl was very gracious when she received her present. Gracious. Think of the root noun. Okay. Does it NCE or NTION? Write it down. Can you spell it? Next word, one that was on the board, ambitious. So root word, where does it come from? They were very ambitious and wanted to compete at the Olympics. Ambitious. And your last one, which will be number 7, will be cautious. They had to be cautious so they didn't fall off the cliff. I don't know where that one came from. Cautious. So what is the word? Is the root word NCE? Cautious. So let's put up the words answer, on the board. So our first one was spacious. Comes from the word space, CE, so we NCIOUS. Our next word, nutritious, comes from nutrition, so we have the shush sound with the T. Your next one, this one might have got a few of you. Malicious, comes from the word malice, okay, which NCE, so we add CIOUS. Malicious, if you do something and you mean it to hurt someone, or you're doing it in a mean way, okay, sometimes quite aggressively. Next word is infectious. TIOUS, okay, because it comes from the word infection. Infection becomes infectious when it becomes an adjective, so it's T-I-O-U-S at the end, okay. Gracious, we had on the board, comes from the word grace, N-C-E, so we use C-I-O-U-S. Ambitious comes from ambition, so we add T-I-O-U-S. And your last one, cautious, comes from the word caution, hence T-I-O-N, so we have T-I-O-U-S there. So I didn't trick you, no exception words there, they all followed the rule, okay? So if you got some of the spelling wrong, but you got your rule right, so you say I-O-S or T-I-O-S, that's the most important part. And when you do the worksheets, when you're practicing them, remember it's the rule that is the most important thing. If you remember the rule, you can spell lots of words. If you remember one word, you can only remember one word, okay? Some really good scores coming through there. Remember, each week it's about getting better, okay? Not always about getting full marks, okay? You're not going to get full marks in everything in life all the time. It's about getting better and being better at spelling than you were before you started, okay? So that is the main thing. Now, we're going to look at two quick things today in to do with punctuation and grammar. We're going to look at firstly imperative verbs, okay? Now firstly, to do imperative verbs, we need a quick recap of what verbs are. Pop in the chat now, what type of word is a verb, okay? What type of word is a verb? So we've talked about nouns, which are our naming words, our places, our things, okay? We've talked about some adjectives in our spelling, okay? Words describe nouns. I also mentioned adverbs earlier, which is a word that describes a verb. But can you tell me what a verb is, okay? Because you can't know what an imperative verb is, obviously, until you know what a verb is. Now, a verb is one of those words that we need to really understand, okay? We really need to know what it is. There are lots of different types of words, modal verbs, imperative verbs, different types of nouns and adjectives and all those things, okay? But nouns, adjectives, verbs are words that we should all know because we've been looking at them for a long time. Loads of answers coming in there. Amelie, Billy, Mason, Sophie, Isabel, loads of great words. It is a doing word. So a verb is a word, a doing word, doing something. Okay? Now, you might have heard imperative verbs before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down two sentences and they're both going to use the same verb. They're going to use the verb like. So I like to walk. I like to walk, what's my sentence? In the fields. Is my first sentence. I like to walk in the fields. So we've got our verb there, walk. That's what is happening. Okay? Walk in the fields is my second sentence. So they're very similar, but in quite different ways. How is the word walk being used differently? Okay, so I'll read the sentences. I like to walk in the fields, walk in the fields, okay? Those are two sentences. They have the same verb in, but the verb is being used in a different way. What is this verb doing that this verb isn't? Okay, that's the key thing. What is this verb doing that this word isn't? So, waiting for some answer to come through because I know, okay, that it is taking a while to come through. Quite a few people down watching there. Good to see you. Okay, if you've only just joined, you can watch the start of the lesson later on if you want to, or you can join in now because we're moving through a couple of different things today. Okay, well done, Millie. That's a good word to use there. Well done, Nicola. Well done, Alex. Well done, Ellie. Okay, chat really taking a while to get through there, so I apologise for a little bit of a gap. My internet must be going slow today. But lots of people there. The first one I saw was Millie's, and she put that it's a command. Okay, so this one, this verb here is being used as a command or an instruction. So we'll write that over here on the side so we know. So imperative verb, this is something that you might want to make a note of to help you remember. So imperative verb, okay, gives command or instruction. Okay, basically telling someone or something to do something else. Okay, so it's command or instruction. What it sometimes is known as, and what you might have heard it, is bossy. Okay, sometimes you have imperative verb or they're bossy verbs. Now that's good in order to remind you. Okay, if you need that to remind you, it's good, but you need to be careful because the word bossy means something, doesn't it? And I'm going to write 3 sentences, and I want you to tell me in these 3 sentences, okay, which one has an imperative verb. So which sentence has an imperative verb? So I like to go to the cinema. Go outside now. So we've got 1, we've got 2, and we've got 3. Go to the shop, please. So we've got I like to go to the cinema. Go outside now. Go to the shop, please. So we'll underline our verb, which is go. Same one in every sentence. But which sentence there, 1, 2, or 3, has the imperative verb? Here is our description. Our imperative verb, our bossy verb, it gives a command or an instruction. Which one has the imperative verb in there? Is it 1, is it 2, or is it 3? Lots of 2s. Millie saying 2. Lucy saying 2. Yeti saying 2. Jennifer, Joseph, Alex, Jasmine, Francis, Joshua, Emily, Sydney, Jennifer, all saying 2. Okay there. Seb, let's have a look. Drew, Amelia, everyone's saying 2. Jude saying 22. Evie, Vinny, everyone's saying 2 there. Okay. Well done. 2 is an imperative verb. However, this was a trick question. There are 2 imperative verbs, okay? 2 sentences have them, and no one's mentioned that. If anyone had mentioned it before I said it, teachers, could you pop it in there for us? I'll give them a shout out. But this is also an imperative verb. Now, this is why we have to be careful when we call them bossy verbs, because this one, go outside now, can sound, okay? Go to the shop, please, doesn't sound bossy. However, it is given a command or an instruction. Okay, so bossy verbs is a good way to remember what imperative verbs are. However, don't rely on that, because sometimes in tests and things like that, they might try and trick you and put something that doesn't look bossy, okay, but it is still given an instruction and command. So given instruction and command is the main thing, okay, not the fact that it is bossy. Okay, because you can clearly see that one is a lot bossy than that one, but they're both imperative verbs. Okay, sorry, I tricked you. I don't know whether the teachers were about to say, Mr. Biggins, you've got that wrong there. So, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write 3 sentences, and as I write them on, I want you to write what are the imperative verbs in the chat for me. So, run around the field. So, they all have imperative verbs in them. Just write the number, question, and which one's the verb in the chat, okay? If obviously you're watching again, just write it down on a piece of paper. Run around the field 3 times. Okay, so write number 1, write down what you think the imperative verb is there. Number 2, hold on to this glass for me. And number 3, sleep for 8 hours a night. So they all have imperative verbs there. In the chat, put the number and write down what the imperative verb is. Okay. So loads in for 1 already. and loads of right ones in there. It is run. Okay. Let's have a look. Number 2, loads of people saying hold. And number 3, people starting to put it in there. Jasmine, Alfie, Milo. Okay, lots of people there is sleep. Okay, those are the verbs that are telling us what to do. Now, what you might have noticed there, if you are switched on this morning, is they are all at the start of a sentence. Okay, so imperative verbs, when they're telling us what to do, will be coming at the start of the sentence. Okay, 99% of the time. Okay, 99% of the time they come at the start of the sentence, so that's the easy way to spot them. So when it says look for the imperative verb, look for the start of the sentence. Okay, that might be something you want to write down in your notes. Start of a sentence. And if you wanted to change a verb into an imperative verb, okay, we can move the verb. Sorry, I forgot what I was doing there. We move the verb to the start of the sentence. So if we have a verb in the middle of a sentence, if we want to rearrange the sentence a little bit and put it at the start, it will make an imperative verb because you will then be giving someone an instruction. Okay, so that was our whistle-stop tour of imperative verbs. Okay, and we're going to move on to our last little task, which is looking at something which will really help our cleverer writing. Okay, something that can really help our cleverer writing, and this is a dash for afterthought. Okay, a dash for afterthought. So we're going to look at how to use them and what we use them for. So using a dash for afterthought is a cleverer piece of punctuation which we can use to really add atmosphere and feeling and suspense, those types of things, to our writing. So take our writing from here and move it up to there. Okay, now we only really use them because of that when we're writing informally, so we're more when writing fiction like stories and things like that, rather than if you're writing a letter. You can use them, but they tend to be used more when you're writing informally. Now it adds, like I said, it adds drama, it adds suspense, it creates that atmosphere, and it's used, okay, to separate two main clauses. Now, it's been a while since I've been in school and probably talking about clauses, but remember, a main clause is a full idea that makes sense on its own. So every sentence has a main clause. It's the main idea that the sentence is about, and it makes sense on its own. Other things can be added, like subordinating clauses, things like that. Don't worry about them for now. But the main clause is your main idea that makes sense on its own, and every sentence will have one. It's what the sentence is based around, okay? Things are based around that. If you're really unsure about main clauses, again, there's a video on my channel. You can have a look at different types of clauses. So it joins two main clauses, and it is called a dash for afterthought quite ingeniously because it's a dash, okay? It's a dash, and it adds a thought, an extra thought, after the first main clause to add the suspense and the drama or your atmosphere. Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a dash that puts a thought after the main clause. So here are a couple of examples. Okay, it's easier to see them than it is. I'm leaving that there in case anyone was jotting it down. So the boy hid. Dash. Let's put our second part in a different colour. Help us. Had they seen him. So this is all one sentence. The boy hid. Had they seen them. And we could have he. Year 6 will know what I'm talking about here. He dropped the wheelbarrow. He couldn't go on any longer. Blast from the past there, year 6. Okay. Make sure my arms look like ours. He dropped the wheelbarrow. He couldn't go on any longer. Okay. So we can see we've got our main clauses here. The boy hid. That makes sense on its own. That could just be a sentence on its own. The same as this one. He dropped the wheelbarrow. Full stop. they could just be sentences on their own, and they would both make sense. However, what we've done is we've added something to add a bit more feeling, a bit more atmosphere. So the boy hid is a good sentence, but the boy hid, had they seen him, has more atmosphere, has more punch to it. And then this makes sense on its own as well. So we are adding another main clause on. So when I say that, I mean this has to make sense on its own. So if I take away this, does had they seen him make sense? Yeah, it does. So I can have that on the end. So we're adding another main clause on. We could add a main clause, subordinate clause, stuff like that, but it tends or has to make sense on its own. You have to be able to take it with the first part. He dropped the wheelbarrow, good sentence, but he dropped the wheelbarrow. He couldn't go on any longer. Okay, it adds that atmosphere. It's really telling us how the character's feeling. So again, both main clauses, they both make sense on their own. He dropped the wheelbarrow, makes sense on its own. He couldn't go on any longer, makes sense on its own. So if we wanted to, we could put a full stop there and do another sentence, okay, but this makes it flow a little bit longer, and we know that it's that thought, that feeling afterwards that we are adding on. Now, it is really powerful in writing, but because of that, we shouldn't use it all the time, or else it loses effectiveness. Anything that's really good in writing, a lot of people do it with your ellipsis, okay, when you do your 3 full stops for suspense. But then they use it over and over and over and over again. If you use it over and over and over again, it loses its effectiveness, and it's not as good because you're thinking, oh, well, this doesn't really mean anything because they're in all over, okay? So when you use them, we use things sparingly. We use them when those real points where we want to add some more feeling, add a bit more atmosphere in there, okay? And that's when we use them. We don't use them all the time. Now I'm going to write another sentence, and this sentence is going to be wrong. And I want you to tell me why this dash hasn't been used for afterthought, okay? Because we can use dashes in other ways, but why is this dash why does this not work? Okay? Why is this? Think about what I've just said. I'll go over the rules once I've read it, wrote it down. But why does this not work? So they all sang together. Dash because they were so happy. So they all sang together because they were so happy. Have a think about the rules I've just told you for a dash for afterthought. Why does that not work? Why is this one not working? So remember, they join 2 main clauses. Okay, it's adding atmosphere at the end, so they tend to be linked, a bit like when we use semicolons. Okay, has to be talking about what's before. We don't just put something random there. Helps if I put my team together. Okay, I was waiting to see if Miss Cathy had picked me up on that when I was writing quickly, missed the T out. Can anyone see why it doesn't? Right, guys, a few people I'm having to put in time out because they are talking about other things all the time. Okay. Okay, focusing on the work. I've tagged a few people multiple times there. I might have to hide from the chat, which means you can still watch the lesson. Don't want to do that, guys. Okay, make sure you are sticking on with the lesson. Thank you, Mason. So, Stephen, you're on the right lines there. Stephen said it doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense? Okay. Something doesn't make sense there. Okay, this is a really hard one. So I'm going to let you know. Steve mentioned it didn't make sense. He was on the right line. This second part doesn't make sense on its own. If I say they all sang together, makes sense on its own. They linked. It's telling us why they were singing. So they linked. Okay. Because they were so happy, it doesn't make sense on its own. Let's think about it. Because they were so happy. If I said that to you, you'd need more information to understand me, wouldn't you? You'd be saying because they were so happy what? Okay, so it doesn't make sense on its own. So this isn't a main clause, this is actually a subordinating clause. So a dash for afterthought links to main clauses. Now there's a quick way we can fix this. I can take out my because. Okay, they all sang together, they were so happy. Okay, and that makes sense on its own, they were so happy. So I just took out that one word and it is now grammatically correct. So that's why we have to be careful, because a lot of times we use our dash for afterthought, but we put our connective or conjunction, in, or spawning conjunction, or an and or a but, our fanboys in, okay? We don't need those in, because it's adding the atmosphere and it's creating it. With those in, you wouldn't need the dash, but it doesn't flow as much. They all sang together. They were so happy. That flows nicely. They all sang together because they were so happy is a little bit more informative, and it doesn't flow as well, okay? And that's why we use now a dash. So that's something that you have to really, really be careful after, okay? Now, I can see we've been an hour there now, so I was going to do one where you can come up with some examples, but we're going to leave it there because there is some work on that in the pack. So, I'm going to go over in the Padlet, okay, underneath, there is worksheets that link with today's work, some spelling, something to do with imperative verbs, and something to do with dash for afterthought, okay? Now, I went over the other two, the imperative verbs and dash for afterthought, quite quickly. So again, if you need help, you can get in contact on my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter, Mr. Biggins123. You can get in contact on the Padlet. You can use the email address on the Padlet. Whatever you need, comment section on YouTube. We will help as much as we can, not just myself, the other teachers. Okay, so thank those as well, Miss Allison, Miss Rice, and Miss Carthy. I completely blanked there. I'm missing you guys. Forgetting about you. Okay. So we're all there to help. So if you need help with any of the work, please get in contact. Don't just struggle with it. Down there is also in the description a Kahoot. And let's see next week who can be the top. Remember, we had 4 people top score last time, so I would do the worksheets first. Make sure you understand exactly what it is. Have some notes. Can't remember whether I left the timer on or not, so you're not going to have ages on some of them now. I'm leaving the timers off. So let's see who wins that for next week. Other things to remember, the day on Friday, get your requests in for songs, please, for me. Pop them in the comments, or pop them on my Twitter, pop them on my Instagram, pop them on my Facebook. I need to get the songs, make sure I've got them all, okay, for the actual day between 3 and 4 on Friday. Mrs. Carthy's packs, brilliant, are there on the Padlet as well. So if you've got loads of cool stuff to do on actual VE day, download those. Thank you very much for those, Mrs. Carthy. Apart from that, I'm going to be sticking around if there's any questions or anyone needs any help. Okay, so thanks again for today's lesson. Sorry the chat was a little bit slower, so it took me a while to get some of your answers there, which made the lesson go on a little bit longer, but we got there in the end. Okay, thanks very much. Good luck with all the work, and if you're heading off now, hopefully see you tomorrow morning for our maths lesson. Cheerio. And this is the part where you just see the top of my head. Okay, and lots of people pop in the chat and say what's happening. There's no lesson, and just see the top of someone's head. Okay. Yes, bye Lucy, you're welcome. See you later, Heidi. Okay, my phone is buzzing there. I apologise for that. I try to turn everything off and I always forget something. Oh yes, and obviously my TikTok, on my Instagram and stuff like that. If you want to see me making an idiot of myself, once I've learned the dance, it will go up. TikTok channel is just exactly the same as all the others. Mr. Biggins123, okay? A star for originality. Goodbye, Mrs. Carthy. Yeah, it's up there. It's not up there yet. There's one daft little one that I put up this morning just to get used to it, and because I'm addicted. Not as addicted as Mrs. Carthy, I think. Okay, because Mrs. Carthy loves her a bit of TikTok. I'm just like a floating head here. I've just noticed. Okay. It looks actually. This is what it would look like. This is what you said, Bennett. This is what it would look like if Mrs. Shaw was doing the lesson. I should be looking around and look at Mrs. Shaw. Yeah, so as soon as I've done it, I will put it up. And remember, keep on reading plus keep on mathletics, because from now, okay, is when the new competition starts. So I know the date, okay. From now, the new competition starts. When I'm ready to get a new TikTok, I will pick whoever has done the most. I think I'm going to do a joint mathletics reading plus thing. So keep on those. All right. Right, I've just mentioned, someone's just mentioned that the link for Padlet isn't working there. I'm just checking them. I'll make sure that they are up and running. There's been a couple of issues with them. Might be an old link. Right, I've just put the year 6 Padlet in the chat. Obviously, if you're watching this on a repeat, I'll probably change the links on the video. I'm going to pop the year 5 one in there now, okay? Right, so I've just popped the year 5 and the year 6 Padlet into the chat. Okay, if you scroll up, you'll see them. And those links should work. I'm just going to double check. Yeah, they are. I'll change the links in the descriptions after the video. So if you're watching this on repeat, it should all be sorted. And Miss Carthy's also put the link in for the year 5 Padlet is there. So the links are in the chat now. Okay, so if you're trying to get to work, links are in the chat there. You can quickly grab them. If you're not in the chat or anything like that, I'm going to change the description as soon as the stream's finished, and there'll also be the links to the panels and stuff on my Twitter and all those other things as well. Okay, so I love doing the Miss. I can see myself there, so it's really off-putting. Like I say, did anyone get the Miss Shaw joke? I'm seeing no love for it. Well, you're welcome, Vinny. Okay, I'm glad it's working there now. Yes, Jacob has finished. Started at 10 o'clock. It's an hour lesson. Once we finish, you can watch the video back from the start. Okay. If you missed it or you were somewhere else, you can go and do anything like that. I'm just sticking around in case anyone's got any questions or there are any problems. Okay. Thank you, the teachers again in the chat, Miss Carthy, Miss Allison, Miss Rice. I can keep an eye on it now, so if you need to go off and do anything, thanks again for looking after that. Okay. Right guys, hope you enjoyed the lesson. Like I said, you can watch the lesson back. It will stay up if you missed it. Looks like I've sorted out any questions anyone had with the lesson, anything like that. Hope you're all safe, and see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock for the Maths Live lesson. And if you need any help, Spoons123 on the Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitter, and also on the Padlet, and we will give you any help that we need. Thanks a lot, and we will catch you tomorrow.